It was on Tescowl that I saw the change in the visionary. He had been in talks with the renegade group of Astartes and requested us, to meet them. A diplomatic burden we rarely were acquainted with, as our skills were suited for more violent tendencies. Unanimously, we thought it foolish, and those around us agreed. The brute, a negotiator, they laughed. The mere concept, senseless. At the worst of my comrade's denial, I was annoyed with winded banter, the seasoned claws acting as if they were denied a hunt. Though, against Faraz, none rebelled openly. As preparations began, something felt off about this mission. An old world. The sweat rolled off his brow, falling onto the eyelens of his helm. Humid air smothered every breath as Brutus stared at the creature he killed minutes ago. It had struck from below, erupting the tranquil swamp into a whirl of screeching noise and fury. Within seconds, sparks and ceramite flung across his visor. Nostrum and runes warned of intense damage as his power armor compensated accordingly, but his reaction returned the attack tenfold. Ramming his face into the screaming orifice, the hostility ceased. Bone cracked, and blood spattered from the impact. Surprised at the pain, the beast lashed out at the gap between them, a hurried attempt to force the odds in its favor. Brutus holstered his bolt pistol, conserving what ammo was left, resorting to his own strength. He swung wide, aiming at the thing's chest, but even in its bewildered state, it effortlessly weaved out of his reach, gnashing a strike across forearm and wrist. Frustration grunted through the Vox as Brutus weathered the attack, not giving way for his brothers to aid in the assault. He swung again with a right hook, then a left, each time narrowly missing its head by mere inches as it evaded both strikes. "Just use your bolt pistol," Rodell said, continuing to look for an opening. "You know how he gets. Everything a challenge, even if it's subpar." Draktiro's mirth was evident as he lowered his weapon, watching the two thrash around. For 3 minutes, Brutus was unable to land a single strike. Its speed matched that of his enhanced movements, and neither was able to significantly harm the other. With a feral yell, he tackled it to the ground and struggled to get a hold of its neck, panicked flailing, intensifying its evasion. He felt every muscle fiber in his arm clench tight as the opening finally presented itself. Clumsy yells of mimicked language gurgled through its vocal cords as he squeezed tighter, both hands clasping together, stealing its breath. With eyes bloodshot and resistance weakening, it slowly ceased movement, finally going limp. That was how it ended. A vacancy upheld his instincts. The events replayed, and through it all he wondered if it had attacked out of fear. The flightless thing was half submerged in murky depths, silent as its mouth gaped open and eyes rolled back. Its sharp claws were sprawled at the end of thin forearms, covered in a feathery pattern, resembling some form of nocturnal background. This affirmed his theory, as light never seemed to move in the swamp. It must have been so out of tune with its environment. "It must not be native to this place." Brutus pushed it over, noticing his brothers waiting. "Did it try to speak a language?" Demar's voice was amplified and heavy as the Vox Grill transposed his words to a greater depth. "Sounded more of a mimicry." Brutus kneeled, looking closer at the feathered pattern. "It sounded as if you were strangling a woman," Demol remarked. "Leave it. We must continue." From further ahead, he looked up, seeing Rodell motion to follow. He donned his helm, thinking of the briefing Faraz had given before they departed. Diplomacy with renegade Astartes, calling themselves Malikotals, a strange word. The full extent to which they would be involved unknown until they met with them. As the helm hissed a pressurizing seal, Brutus thought back to the silence of the abyss and its comforting darkness. Demol was first to openly inquire of the strategy. What importance are they to us? Have we not the means to support our own war? Faraz stared at him, unmoving. The hum of dull noises idled behind the conversation. Serfs and servitors alike worked uninterrupted, concentrating on their tasks, avoiding the master's sight. A helm masked by a brutal skull suppressed true thoughts. It kept Faraz unknown as he walked the outer edges of the hollow image. We are capable of our ideals without the aid of others. Understand, I do not pursue their alliance, thinking otherwise. You all know what I seek, and have willingly accepted this as your own and in your own ways. But the Malikotals are a particular group that stand in a unique position for us. Demol was focused, taking in each word and detail. Brutus glanced at his brothers, seeing how the speech captivated their attention. Their conviction distanced them from both the Imperium and the gods, giving us an approach of neutrality. Within their isolation, are they not of the same manner? Beyond the resources, which would succeed greater weapons, I aim to exchange knowledge. Faraz rested a hand under the hollow image of Tescowl, palm upward, suggesting control over the world. Of course, the precise knowledge that would be exchanged, Faraz refused to explain. Let the focus be of war, Demol. We do not concern ourselves with the grand design. Radel looked at Demol, raising a hand to dismiss his earlier question. Faraz continued. Once in orbit, they will give their conditions. On ground, Brutus will take lead. He awaited. I do not mean to debate your decision, but have you seen Brutus in diplomacy before? Radel spoke with slight concern. Though they would not see it, Faraz gave a devilish smile. Trust that I have made the right choice. Tescowl was a hot world. Boasting of lush rainforests, it yielded the worst travel conditions. Within the mainland, the flora hid a complex biome. Stale waters and rich soil grew a plethora of life, keeping the hazards of dwelling there abundant. Yet mankind was stubborn, carving its legacy during the dark age of technology. The first settlers were determined to harvest what riches there were. I still have doubts. Radel broke the silence as they carried themselves through thick mud and endless swamp. Wading further into dark waters, he half stumbled, cursing in Nostraman, nearly falling from hidden terrain that lay jagged beneath. Brutus found himself agreeing as he thought of the peculiar reports he had read of this world, and saw no value in its resources as past millenniums exhausted the planet. Then again, Faraz sowed complexity in every plan. Do you think we are unwise to follow their demands? The tone of question genuine as Demol reserved his thoughts on the matter. Yes, this is unwise. They demand we meet on their grounds, with only bolt pistol and knife. This would be unwise even in perfect conditions. Radel fell as he tripped over a thick root. Draktyro laughed as he heard the frustration in Radel's voice. See it as a challenge. We seek an audience, and they want us to prove our worth. Would we not do the same? Radel let a grunt slip through the vox. I still have doubts. Brutus, what do you think? He looked over, seeing the Nice Lord maneuver through thick vegetation, ignoring the question Brutus signaled for the group to halt. A synchronized readying of weapons echoed as their attentions heightened to potential threats. Each took their sections of fire outward, forming a triangular perimeter, setting protection for Brutus in the middle. Did you see it? he questioned openly. No, Demol responded, keenly eyeing every detail of the swamp, focusing intently on the faintest movement. As Brutus cycled through various visions, he saw nothing of significance. Perhaps it was an error that occurred, his damaged helm playing tricks. I see nothing. Draktyro scanned the forest, his helm tracking in sync with his eyes. What did... With the sound of cracking ceramite and sloshing water, Radel's speech was cut short. Acting swiftly, Brutus pulled Radel into the center, examining the impact. Draktyro and Demol suppressed their unseen foe. He's poisoned! Brutus leaned over Radel carefully, avoiding the needle lodged in the armor. Looking closer, it was a dark, non-reflective material, rough in texture. Radel! Brutus voxed, but knew a response was unlikely. He allowed it a chance. We have to move, Brutus! Concern laced in his voice as Draktyro spoke. He continued to fire, letting his bolt pistol staccato a rhythm. Brutus grunted as he heaved Radel out of the swamp. Armor joints flared in defiance, telling of the damage they had received since arriving. Move, he commanded. As they ran, he searched for the assailant, but saw nothing. With the source of the attack still in question, his concern shifted to navigate the uneasy terrain. They had run a few meters back, finding a massive stone for cover. Brutus tossed Radel into the soft earth, and at once he continued to evaluate the injury. Removing his helm! A rush of air hissed lightly as it unsealed. He caught Radel's head, keeping further injury from occurring, placing the helm underneath to provide stable support. He lives. Respirations are low. The words relieved some of the tension that eased its way among them. Draktyro took the right side of the boulder they hid behind, awaiting any sign of life he could end, while Demol covered the left, reciprocating the vigilance. Do not lose composure. We will kill it, Demol reassured, hoping to calm the older Night Lord. Brutus ignored the two as he removed the upper armor on Radel, seeing the wound was only superficial. Reaching in his battle belt, he removed an injector with mixed chemicals, a concoction of stimulants and synthetic adrenaline reserved for similar situations. Unsure if it would cause more harm, Brutus hesitated in removing the poison needle. Draktyro glanced once towards the two. Do it, Brutus. The reassurance deciding the choice. With surgical precision, he removed the foreign object, placing the injector over the area and pressed forward. Piercing black carapace and skin. He let the fluid within the injector surge. 3 seconds passed, and Radel flexed to the burning liquid, bile spewing from his mouth as he sat up. What the hell was that? Radel's body convulsed as he coughed up mucus and spit. A kick to the gut, Brutus replied. Struggling to focus, Radel shifted his body, holding his weight against the ground. He shook uncontrollably. The feeling will pass. Have you two killed something yet? Brutus readied his bolt pistol as he stood up, aiding the search for any movement. I see it. A heavy voice of malice scraped through the vox as Draktyro's rune illuminated a Nostroman symbol, identifying the target. Silence reigned in as a set of eyes made contact with each Night Lord. Human would be an immediate description. Brutus felt the word identified what he saw, and from a distance, its stature would convince any to draw the same conclusion. Though, upon closer detail, one could see the flaws in its appearance. The resemblance coercing hesitation, confusing its prey. Analyzing the creature, Brutus felt his posture tense involuntarily. He noticed its skin turned to feathers, its eyes were orbs of dark color swallowing light, and its limbs ended in 5 talons, articulating motion like fingers. Half exposed, the creature's head twitched in slight movements, tracking the Night Lords as they internally voxed a strategy. Anger built in Draktyro as he heard Brutus and Demol speak, neither willing to openly charge the beast. "Just open fire!" He hovered over the trigger. Rodel went down with a single strike. Ammo is limited, and it avoids shot easily. Rage should be precise. Demol responded, keeping the threat in sight. Rodel slowly began to stand as he wiped phlegm from his mouth. Never again with that filth, whatever it is. Never again. My gut is burning. Drakhtaro risked a glance towards Rodel, hoping to confirm his brother's condition, but it was then that a slim splinter lodged itself in the back of his helm. "By the gods!" exclaimed Brutus, as he watched Drakhtaro collapse. In response, he fired at the creature, but it was gone. "Give it no damn room to breathe," he demanded. Demol let 3 shots echo into the air, destroying its location, and unleashed more upon expectant areas. Rodel brought his weapon to level, adding to the fray, taking position where Drakhtaro once stood. Brutus began running to adjacent cover, readying his bolt pistol for movement. He kept sight where Demol targeted, and traced a path for his next move. Monkey. The word curled and vibrated, dissipating with the wind in a crawling sensation, the sound of it an alteration of its origins. It stopped Brutus momentarily, but quickly he positioned himself perpendicular to the others, forming a crossfire. He waited. Once again, eyes peered from their position, slowly revealing a disfigured face, but this time Brutus fired. The creature dropped abruptly, half its head missing from the impact of the round, as Rodel fired once more, tearing the body apart. "Conserve your ammo, Rodel," Demol said, hitting him as he passed by to check on Drakhtaro. "He better not be dead. This thing was not worth our lives." He removed the helm, seeing Drakhtaro unharmed. Another day to die." He reached to help the older Night Lord. "The armor's locked up and shut off. Dead silent," Drakhtaro said, surprised, as he got up. "Looks like the new helm did its job." Demol examined the inside of the helm, as the splintered rock was barely exposed. "I've never seen ordnance capable of this. What was it using?" he asked, removing the needle. "Questions are for when we are done here," Brutus intervened. It was clear suppressed anger held a strike meant for Drakhtaro. Without a word, he unsheathed his knife, decapitating the creature, shoving the trophy onto Draktharo's spiked pauldron, displaying the kill. Noticing the confused look, he stepped back, awaiting the refusal. "It was not my kill. Why?" Brutus motioned for silence. He began cutting the creature's tongue out. It had small white protrusions covering the surface and angled towards the esophagus. The tongue stuck to anything it touched. Brutus studied it briefly, guessing the projectiles were somehow formed within the creature, but the needles were stone-like and inorganic. "It shapes the stone within its mouth. There are no weapons." Throwing the tongue into the water, he turned to face Drakhtaro. The sudden change of attention caught him off guard. It was a moment of disappointment. Prey had outmaneuvered and taken down 2 of their own, nearly ending lives. He let the silence speak for him, his scarred helm scrutinizing Drakhtaro more than enough. "Do better," was all Brutus said. The day burned. Enveloped in night, they felt a yearning to hunt, to eclipse their current purpose, but the urge faded as they reached a clearing out of the swamp. Monumental structures towered above them, raised from the ground by 1,000 steps to an altar at the apex of its height. Brutus approached the base of the pyramid, seeing ancient histories told by hand-carved petroglyphs. It was a bloody tale of wars and sacrifices, covering an untold number of years, the outcome of which was uncertain. They began climbing the steps, and he took the opportunity to seek out distant origins of their trek. "A damned journey from the start," he muttered to himself. The foliage of the swamp spread across the vast horizon. Just how much of this planet tolerated human life, he wondered. So much had tried to slaughter them upon their trespass that he did not expect to see signs of civilization, let alone megastructures. That required stability. The top of the pyramid was farther than it seemed, taking more time than he wanted. A slight pause transpired as the annoyance of the climb was shared through a single voxed sigh. Without the light of day, Brutus guessed any who lacked enhanced vision would struggle balancing the stairway, putting the purpose of the structure in a curious state of his mind. The night had contrasted the day, as the stars and moon hardly shone natural ambience. Switching to prey sight, they continued their ascent. At the top stood a congress of 4 Malikotals, unmoving to the Night Lord's presence, motionless against the hard breeze that swept over them. Preparing for both negotiation and combat, he illuminated the nostrum and rune for weapons at the ready. "If I die here, you keep me dead. I swear to the gods, if you put me in a dreadnought, I'll murder you all." He internally voxed a final request to the others. "Would we have traversed this forsaken world just to be killed? If they demand a fight, shoot them. I'm ready to leave this infested land." Laughter followed from Drakhtaro and Radel as Demold replied. The Malikotals met the Night Lords in their advance, stopping under the edge of the overhang above the altar. Brutus noticed the faintest sign of weaponry laid on their armor, obsidian blades, engraved to look like Baroque design, blending to the trim. "You survived," came an augmented voice from the closest, the feathered helm stoic in its glare, analyzing the environmental stains they had acquired in their journey. The statement gave slight surprise. An internal link highlighted Radel's rune. Brutus eyed it, opening a private channel. "Avoid angering them," he said. Brutus thought a moment. We will see." He cut the link and switched to external vox. "We did survive, and killed 2 of your foreign beasts." He pointed to the pauldron on Drakhtaro, which carried the rotting creature's head. "I commend your strength, Night Lord, for not many can boast the achievement, but that leads me to my first question. Why did you bring it with you?" Brutus felt insulted. He recoiled his anger by holstering his bolt pistol. "The first met me in personal combat, and the second nearly killed one of our own. It is a fitting reward for a beast of its ability, and this brings me to my first question. What is it?" The first Malikotal was silent. Low, audible clicks barely served notion of internal vox chatter. Brutus felt adrenaline surge in preparedness for combat as slight movements from his brothers showed unease at their counterparts. After a brief exchange, the furthest Malikotal was called forward, revealing a small, palm-sized stone from his leg armor. "Have you encountered Eldar before?" He tossed it to Brutus. It was the same material the beast had thrown at them, its obsidian color nearly making it invisible in prey sight. "Once, but they ran from the fight." He turned over the object, seeing it had a language unknown to him etched into it. The renegade shot a glance back to his brother beside him. "Were you informed of what you will do here?" Brutus rested his hand upon the grip of his bolt pistol, slowly. "We are to meet with you and negotiate a trade. What else is there?" "I am Talalok, and you are here to help us hunt these creatures." Taking a step forward, Talalok left the overhang. Looking up, he thrusted a fist into the air as a hidden barrel emerged from his forearm. A flare shot off quickly, bathing them in red light as it speared upward into the sky, hovering above. As the red hue revealed the dense jungle around them, familiar mimicries of the word Monkey eerily grew louder, as the trees began to shudder in every direction.